Alpha, and I made just a pretty short presentation, I think, just about an intro to like, understanding the apps you need and process slides about like just a portrait in any digital. Oh my god, this thing is really small. In any like digital app. Okay. For my first app, I put Krita because this is a free to use app. It's really easy to learn and had a lot of friends use Krita to very amounts of success. I think unfortunately with most of the free apps like Krita, you won't get a lot of like video tutorials for specific things that you may want because like apps like these aren't as popular as ones used by professionals, which I've talked about right now. I think this has like really great brush variety for pretty much anything you might need. I think in the background you can see good for like fashion painting and even most of these apps listed are pretty Fire Alpaca. So I've just heard that it's a good Photoshop copycat that you can use for free, and I know it supports like a variety of languages. Thing that not a lot of these apps have. I think a lot of them don't support a lot of these languages. And what I've heard about Fire Alpaca is that it has amazing brush support. So the thing, like the brushes that you get are really just the brushes that you get, and you're gonna tell. But I think that with a lot of the apps, you'll see that like it's not that difficult to like make things on the same level as things on maybe another app. Once you get used to all the software, they end up being just about the same. And so I just paint, that will be on the table back there. I just paint is like a mobile app, which isn't like all of these previously, because these were open mobile apps. This one I have a little awkward to use for myself, but it's only mobile app on the side, so that's a big plus. You do have to watch like a lot of ads for this one to work. I think for brushes and like there's some initial ads you have to watch, but then you get a free one for 4 hours. Also, your canvas is like kind of tiny on a phone screen. Also, styluses aren't that effective on phones. Yeah, I have a lot of problems I have with paint, but like again, most of these apps will work just fine if you're trying to do anything. These are my favorite. I like Procreate because this one's really easy to learn. It has really like intuitive control. Super popular. So you get a lot of video tutorials if you search literally anything up. Photoshop is what I use at home. It has, you have access to like pretty much like every brush library ever because you can import brushes from Photoshop very easily. A lot of people have used Photoshop like in the past, so it has really great brush support. And the only like con of Photoshop is that it's super expensive, so it's not accessible to a lot of people. So in my like process for a digital like portrait, what I'll do is first I'll find a picture, and then I use thumbnails, which are little tiny drawings that you would do, and then you enlarge them later to make a big portrait. So I'm going to go over the process of how I just made this little portrait of Mac Ross. Even though it probably isn't the best example, I couldn't give it. Okay. So we're looking at a blank canvas, and the first thing I would do is draw bounding boxes for Mr. Mike Ross's face. You see the edges of his face, and maybe where his hair stops, and his ears. I draw all those boxes, and then I measure, in the middle of the picture, I measure out where stuff like his eyebrows are, his nose. Also, I don't care, just because I think it's harder to make stuff that way. But that's also, I guess, a message to use. So I measure out where his eyebrows are, his nose, his mouth. I put that all on my box, and then afterwards I'll draw that in. After I draw this in, I don't use red normally. I just use it here because I think it's easier to see on the screen. I could use black. It doesn't really change how it ends up. I changed the line art to make like I erase all my lettering lines. I clean up some details. Like you see his head shape, I figure out and where I want his the cave where the eye rests. Like I figure all of that out after I've measured everything where I want to place You'll see that it's not totally accurate. I think his head's a little bigger in the actual picture. Yeah, that's okay. And then I'll place my base colors, which means I look at the original picture, and then I, place like base colors as accurately as I can. Sometimes it won't be like, really accurate, but that's okay, because what I'm trying to figure out is basically where like, the shadowy parts are and where the lights are. And then I'll just go and like look for different color changes in the actual picture. Then I'll just port that over, I guess, in my, like, you see that his beard is like kind of dark in the end. I'll make his beard darker. Like, I'll try to get colors more accurate. I place highlights, places like the eyes where they kind of shine. And you see his nose is like the brightest part in the original, so his nose is the brightest part here as well. I think there's some refining that can be done after this stage. This is where I stopped for this portrait. I figured out like in my base coloring where to place things like the flames of his face and all that. Yeah, that's really all I have for these process slides, so thank you very much.